Guys, got some news. Food, it's delicious. I'm Alison and I'm gonna be making a quick lamb ragu. A ragu in its most simple, basic form is a meat sauce that's cooked typically with tomatoes. You can serve it over pasta, you can serve it over polenta, you can kind of do anything you want with it. Today I'm gonna serve it over pasta because pasta. So lamb, for whatever reason, happens to be a very divisive meat. And if you're even like a little bit lamb curious, then this is a really good gateway recipe to get started because there's a lot of things going on. There's tomato, there's pasta, there's cheese. It's like kind of dipping your toes into the waters of lamb or something. But I will say that you can use other meats. I would stick with something that's just as fatty, like pork or like an 80-20 beef. So the other nice thing about a sauce like ragu is that it's mostly made with pantry staples. You have pasta, you have canned tomatoes, onions, garlic. I feel like people sometimes love to add a carrot or something in a meat sauce. That's not for me. I think that the tomatoes offer enough sweetness. We're also gonna use tomato paste, which is gonna offer sweetness, especially as we caramelize it in the skillet. So I don't really think it needs much else other than onion and garlic. Boring. I feel like I'm constantly slicing onions. That's like my default. For some reason though, when I'm using ground meat, I always like to chop. And we're gonna cook them until they're softened, so you don't wanna make them too big or too chunky. And then I'm gonna chop 4 garlic cloves. If they're really big, feel free to use less. If you really like garlic, feel free to use more. Ah! And I'm just gonna chop this. If you have a garlic press and you're like dying to use it, now would be the time.
You don't worry about cutting the root and off at all.
No, the garlic is edible. No one's gonna eat this ragu and be like, is there a garlic stem in this? Because nobody will taste it. It doesn't matter. It should look like that. I am gonna get these started. Onions, garlic, olive oil, saute them, salt, pepper, until they're nice, soft, translucent. And you could definitely do this in a pot. As you can see, I have limited space and capacity on my stove, so I'm gonna use a skillet because I've already got a pot going for my water. You don't actually need that much olive oil here because the lamb is so fatty, so you just need kind of like a thin layer to get things started, but once you add the lamb, that's gonna add most of the fat that's in the sauce. And then I'm just gonna season them with salt and pepper. We're gonna wait till it gets kind of softened, translucent. We don't want them to be quite browned, but we do want them to be totally cooked through. Because this is a quick lamb ragu, to compensate for the time that we're not simmering it, you know, developing all those flavors, we're gonna kind of cheat it a little bit by adding anchovies and tomato paste. So these are 2 ingredients that add a ton of flavor in a very short period of time. For tomato paste, I really like the kind that comes in a tube, which tends to be double concentrated, which means that it's a little bit thicker, a little bit richer, but regular tomato paste in a can is also fine. A good way to tell if your anchovies are good is that they should look pink and meaty and not smell fishy. They should smell just kind of like salty and a little bit briny, almost like olives. These ones I really, really like. They're firm, which means they are well cured and salted. I love anchovies. Oh my God. I gave these anchovies to a person who had never had anchovies, and they were very scared to try them. And they told me they were so surprised at how much they liked them, and then it kind of just reminded them of like prosciutto or something like that. So it's not unlike that. It has like a cured meat vibe, except it's a fish. Our onions are starting to get really nicely, like lightly browned. They're translucent, and they smell very, very good. I'm gonna add a pinch of red pepper flakes because I like my ragu to be a little spicy. Lamb especially really likes spiciness. And then anchovies. I left them optional in the recipe, but I feel like most people, from what I've seen when they were cooking this recipe, have embraced the anchovy, which makes me extremely happy. The nice thing also about cooking with anchovies, you don't have to cut them, you don't have to chop them, they just kind of dissolve in the oil. You know, they're not adding a fishiness to it, they're just adding like a deep, meaty richness. Well, look, where'd they go? I don't know, you tell me. This is all like a great thing to do for somebody who claims they don't like anchovies, is to put them in this sauce and then serve it to them, and they're gonna be like, oh my God, this lamb ragu, it's amazing. And you're gonna be like, I know, it's full of anchovies. Joke's on you. Cool. So once those anchovies are all melted, now I'm gonna add my tomato paste. Ooh, fresh tube. I feel like this is all like a toothpaste thing where if you squeeze from here, you're a monster. So I like to go from the top. We'll do about 2 tablespoons.
Wait, if you squeeze from
the thick part, you're a monster?
Yeah.
That's absolutely where I squeeze my toothpaste.
Yeah, and then you get toothpaste here, toothpaste there. Well, then it's a mess. And then you've got all this unusable toothpaste. You always go from the top.
I don't think I've ever heard that or
Wow,
known
where
that.
were you raised?
North Carolina.
Well, I mean to never go there. So that's all happening in there, and now I'm gonna add my meat. Like, I built this dish with lamb in mind, like the anchovies, the tomatoes, the chili. You could absolutely use another ground meat if that's your thing. Ground meat, not a cute thing. And I'm gonna season this definitely with lots of salt and pepper. I wanna make sure that as it cooks, that the onions, the tomato paste, the garlic, the anchovies are all kind of incorporated into the meat for two reasons. One, because it starts to season the meat immediately, and two, that way those other bits like the onions, the garlic, etc., don't burn in the skillet before the meat is browned. Cool, so now that everything is incorporated, I can see everything mingling and getting to know each other in the skillet. They're having a great time. Oh my God, what a fun party in here. I'm due to walk away. I don't need to stand here over the skillet and watch it necessarily. And there's a lot of fat in lamb, so as it cooks, a lot of that fat's gonna come out and it's gonna protect it from browning or burning too quickly. So it looks saucy and nice now. We're gonna let it get even saucier and nicer. The lamb will tell you when it's ready. And basically what you're looking for is browning in the bottom of the skillet, which is really nice because once we add our tomatoes and some water, all those bits are gonna get pulled up into the sauce. For this ragu, you can use whole peeled tomatoes that you crush by hand, or you can use canned crushed tomatoes. They're gonna give you slightly different textures in the end, but both are totally usable. I'm gonna use these whole peeled tomatoes that I'm gonna crush myself because that's what I've got. Gonna add the liquid first, and then to crush the tomatoes, I just crush them over the skillet by hand like this. It's actually quite a fun task. I like this part a lot. I like it probably more than I should. I'll use the can as the vessel for which to add the water. And it's just nice because then you can get all the bits inside. And then I like to put my spoon in there. Isn't that cute? Oh my God. I'm gonna give it another seasoning of salt and pepper. You gotta make sure that they get seasoned too. We're gonna simmer it for about 25 to 30 minutes. While I'm doing that, I'm going to get my water going for my pasta. That way everything is ready at the same time. The nice thing about ragu is that you can really serve it with any type of pasta. You can use short tubey noodle, you can use long thin noodle, whatever you like. I personally love like a long kind of thicker strand like a fettuccine or a bucatini for something like this. But if you're like, I just gotta have a rigatoni, then by all means, use a rigatoni. So I'm gonna use about 3/4 of this box, which will still be so much for 4 people. You're like, no, you don't know me and my family, like we eat a lot of pasta. I eat a lot of pasta, and I still feel like 10 to 12 ounces for 4 people is plenty. So I'm gonna drop it into my heavily salted pasta water while this finishes cooking. For most pastas, I would say like check it after 8 minutes. It probably won't be ready till 10, but a good way to find out how long you should cook your pasta for is just look at the box, because each brand has a different thickness, each brand has a different time for how long you should cook it. So best to consult where it comes from than listen to a generic recipe because they don't know where your pasta came from. For the ragu, I feel like it's better to kind of err on maybe too thick than too thin, because if it's too thin, it's gonna be kind of watery and not as flavorful as it can be. And if it's on the thicker side, you can always thin it out with some of your pasta water. But this to me looks perfect. So I'm not even gonna drain the pasta, it's gonna go straight into the skillet. And that's why I like tongs. So I also like to cook my pasta in the sauce that I'm serving it with. Not only does it season the pasta from the inside out, but it also thickens the sauce. Some of that starch from the pasta is gonna come out and it's gonna thicken your sauce, which just gives you that like very nice noodle coating experience. As always, we will test one chosen noodle. Extremely hot. And it is delicious and seasoned and so good. So to serve this, you can go straight from skillet to table if that's your thing, or you can put this in a giant bowl. I'm just gonna make myself one very nice, cute little nest of pasta, because it's just me here alone in this kitchen. Definitely not a room full of people filming me do this. I like to absolutely shower it with cheese. And then some olive oil. I love oregano and lamb. So this to me is like an obvious choice for oregano, but if you'd rather go like a fresh herb, use something like parsley would be really nice too. Ooh, I'm gonna add some more chili flake because I like it spicy. So there's our quick lamb ragu. Eating pasta on camera, not in my list of favorite things to do, but I'll always do it because I love pasta. It's so good. Trick the lamb haters, trick the anchovy haters, trick everyone in your life. No, I don't think you should do that. I think honesty is the way to live your life. But I do think that this is a really good gateway dish for both of those ingredients that can be a little polarizing.